You opened a map of Portugal, saw that Lisbon looked close to Porto, and built a packed 5-stop itinerary. But moving every 2 nights is a trap that will physically exhaust you before you reach day 3. Today, I'll show you why this standard approach fails, the exact pacing rule you should use instead, and how to see the best of Portugal without the burnout of constant connections. A 10-day trip to Portugal sounds generous until you subtract the transit days. Most people default to a structure that forces them to move every 2 nights. Think about what that actually looks like. You check out of your hotel, drag your bags across cobblestones, and navigate unfamiliar platforms to catch a train. A few days later, you face another rail journey with a tight connection, just to reach the next stop. You spend a third of your trip managing luggage and watching the countryside blur past a window instead of actually walking through it. That is the itinerary trap. When you build a trip this way, by day 4 it stops feeling like travel and starts feeling like project management. You burn your energy tracking rail schedules and confirmation numbers, instead of finding a quiet wine bar along Porto's historic riverfront. I spent 25 years building global corporate travel programs, where a single logistical failure ruins a trip. That career taught me you can't rely on hope to avoid burnout. You need a strict mathematical system to eliminate the friction. I call it the 2-3-1 rule. 2 bases, 3 nights minimum at each base, 1 anchor experience per day. We are mapping this onto a 10-day trip. For any itinerary between 7 and 10 nights, your absolute limit is 2 bases. Travelers always ask what happens when they have more time. You don't just keep adding cities. The framework scales, but it has a hard cap. For 11 to 15 nights, you earn a 3rd base. For 16 to 20 nights, you max out at 4. No itinerary should ever exceed 4 bases. Longer trips should grow in depth, not distance. For a 10-day trip, Lisbon and Porto are the only 2 bases you need. You spend 5 nights in the south and 5 nights in the north. Lisbon as your southern base gives you massive operational range. Your anchor experiences rotate daily. Sintra is 40 minutes by direct train. The southern coastline is about a 60-minute private transfer. An ancient Roman town, home to one of the best preserved temples on the peninsula, sits 90 minutes east by regional rail. You leave your apartment each morning and return to the same neighborhood each evening. This matters because it buys you time. With a 5-night stay, the framework guarantees you 2 fully unscripted days. No timed tickets, no reservations, no alarms. In Lisbon, that means a slow morning at the local food market or an unplanned hour in a neighborhood tile museum. These are the days you actually remember. The real payoff of a 5-night base happens when it is time to transition north. Because you aren't exhausted from packing your bags every other morning, your single transit day feels like a break. You take 1 first-class rail leg on the Alpha Pendular, door to door, between the main rail stations, takes under 3 hours. No complex connections, no friction. Porto as your northern base follows the exact same logic. You have 5 nights to explore the Douro Valley, Braga, and the historic birthplace of Portugal. The Douro is a 90-minute private transfer. Braga and the historic birthplace of Portugal are each just over an hour by regional train. Every excursion leaves and returns on the same day. Your bags stay in Porto. Because you pace the trip this way, you actually have the physical energy for your anchor experiences. You step into Livraria Lelo on a quiet Tuesday morning, right before the tour groups arrive. You get 10 unhurried minutes with the crimson staircase and the stained glass ceiling, with no one pushing behind you. 2-3-1 rule makes a deep, low-stress trip possible. But there is one final logistical detail that dictates whether this framework succeeds. Timing is everything. Portugal runs noticeably less expensive than France or Italy, but if you book in peak July and August, you double the heat and the lines. May, June, and September give you the mildest weather and the thinnest crowds at major sites. 10 days is enough time to go deep into 2 cities and come home with a clear memory of a place rather than a blur of train platforms. 2 bases, 3 nights minimum, 1 anchor experience per day. If you want to check your own itinerary against this exact pacing structure to make sure you haven't overscheduled your days, The Calm Trip Validator does the math for you in less than 5 minutes. It is completely free, and the link is directly below.